Welcome everybody for our new We Choose Reuse webinar. And today I'm very excited to talk about my colleague and friend Jo Morley at City2C about, City2C's work in general, but in particular their refill project and the exciting upcoming refill day. So Jo, first and foremost, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Delphine. It's really great to be here. And I always love having a chat. So yeah, it's really amazing to have this opportunity to talk about refill in the run up to refill day.
So, Jo, tell us a little bit more about you, what you do at City2C, and a little bit of City2C and their history and the work you do.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Jo. I am the head of marketing and campaigns at City2C, which means that I kind of oversee and look after our campaign strategy and all of our kind of content and output. So City2C as an organisation, if you don't know much about us, we are UK based. We are a not-for-profit and we run campaigns to prevent plastic pollution. So we focus specifically on tackling the most polluting items. So these are the items that are washing up on our beaches, in our rivers, and we try and find ways to stop them at source. So we're not cleaning beaches, we want to stop them ending up there in the first place. And our campaigns, we really try and focus on changing behaviour. So we raise awareness and we change behaviour, and we like to try and keep things fun, really positive and very solutions focused. So you probably would have seen some of our video content is often a little bit cheeky, a little bit out there. So for us, it's really about kind of changing the narrative and having that conversation around plastic pollution in a slightly different way, getting people's attention and trying to help them live with less plastic without it being daunting, without it being expensive, and just trying to really create that social norm around avoiding single-use plastic and championing reuse.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen City2C's videos, I really invite you to go onto their YouTube account because it's really worth it. It's always very artistic and fun and creative and yeah, cheeky is the right word. Did you guys put like toilets and people on toilets somewhere close to Westminster at some point?
Yeah, so our founder, so City2C was founded by the incredible Natalie Fee. If you don't know about her, check her out. She's an author and environmentalist, and she set up City2C back in 2015. So she had no background in environmental campaigning. She didn't even like the sea or the water, but she saw the film Albatross, which is amazing, but just absolutely harrowing, about the plight of the albatrosses out in the Pacific, who are literally dying. They're dying, choking on plastic. And she saw this video and realized that the plastic that they were eating, you know, were everyday items that she had seen at home, that she was using every day. And she just knew that she had to do something. And this was coupled with her also seeing in our home city of Bristol, the River Avon just flowing towards the sea, and it was after a particularly big storm, and she was just completely blown away by the volume of plastic that was in the river on its way to the sea. And again, it was those everyday items that really triggered her to go, okay, what can we do in our city, and how can we kind of stop this plastic getting there? So that's always been really at the core of our campaign, stopping it at source, tackling those problematic items. So things like plastic bottles, which was the reason we started Refill, but also Switch the Stick was City2C's first campaign, and that was based around plastic cotton bud sticks that Nat kept finding on these beach cleans, and particularly on the River Avon. And she was just thinking, you know, what are these little pieces of plastic? Found out that they were from cotton bud sticks or Q-tips, and then launched Switch the Stick, which was our first successful campaign way back in 2017 to get all of the major retailers to switch from plastic to paper, because we found out they'd all switched. None of them knew why they switched, and actually were like, yeah, we can totally switch back to paper. So it was one of those amazing campaigns of just getting businesses to make the connection and realize that they didn't actually need to be using single-use plastic in the first place.
Yeah, that's really great success, and you've had many more successes over the years, and in particular with this wonderful refill project. So, can you tell us a little bit more about the genesis of this project and how it has unfolded over the years? Like, I've been traveling when when we could travel, in different airports and being very excited seeing the logo of Refill because I knew the humans behind the campaign and the project. So can you tell us a bit more what's the purpose of Refill, how it came about, and what it is today?
Yeah. So Refill started back in Bristol in 2015 when it was the European Green Capital. We just kind of got City to Sea together. We're talking about what could we do to tackle this massive problem of single-use plastic bottles that were, the most polluting item on UK beaches, but were just everywhere around the city and getting into the rivers. So we did a whole load of research, so behavioural change and kind of market research to understand why people are constantly buying plastic bottled water. And the research came back and there were a couple of really interesting things. First of all, and a pretty obvious one, was accessibility. Back then, there was just nowhere you could fill up your bottle. Fountains had all but disappeared. We'd kind of got out of the habit of carrying reusable bottles. People didn't like to ask to get their bottles refilled in a business if they weren't making a purchase. That was a very interesting insight that came out, that we're all very British and we're too polite to ask for free drinking
Oh,
water.
really? How surprising.
So Refill was kind of born from those insights. So we launched the campaign initially. We have a location-based app, and we started it just as a pilot in Bristol to get businesses to sign up, to put a sticker in their window so they could alert thirsty passers-by to say, hey, it's okay, you can come in here and fill up your water bottle, and then we mapped them on the app. And things have just grown phenomenally since then. So we are still very much a local campaign, but with global impact. We work very much with local communities. So we have local schemes in pretty much every town and city around the UK. And we're starting to expand that internationally now. So the Refill campaign is now live in 8 countries around the world, with a few more exciting announcements that will be made on World Refill Day, with some new countries joining. But it's the same basic principle of empowering local communities to create that accessibility, to sign up refill stations or businesses near them where people can access free drinking water. But also in October last year, it was very exciting, we expanded the campaign. So it's not just drinking water that we're connecting people to, it's now anywhere that you can live with less plastic. So that's everything from a coffee shop that lets you bring in your reusable coffee cup, to a baker that's offering plastic-free packaging for bread, or greengrocers. Also places like aisles in retailers or supermarkets that are now doing plastic-free options, and of course zero waste shops. So Refill has grown from this very small pilot in Bristol to completely saturating the UK. So in the UK, we now have 30,000 refill stations. So that's businesses that are signed up. And yeah, mapping all of those different locations. And we just hit just over 350,000 app users now, which is amazing, not just in the UK, but internationally and around the world as well.
So if you're watching and you haven't downloaded the Refill app just yet, go ahead. Because so if I recap, you're gonna find on that any business that will accept to refill your bottle, but also the refill stations for water that are in different cities around the UK and beyond. But also now anywhere they will accept your reusable container or have a reuse scheme themselves. So shops, restaurants, cafes. And I just wanted to stop on this cafes element because in the midst of the pandemic last year, we saw a lot of cafes who were previously accepting reusable containers from their customers, stopping all that together. And you guys put out this amazing and super quick reactive campaign called Contactless Coffee. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So the pandemic obviously had a massive impact on Refill as a campaign, but just in terms of the scale of single-use plastic that we were using, we saw immediate knee-jerk reactions from so many big chains and businesses who just stopped accepting reusables, despite the fact that they were still accepting cash, which to us was just madness. So yeah, we very quickly launched a big COVID and reusables hub on our website, and specifically launched contactless coffee. So this was a campaign to help businesses safely accept reusables again. So we knew that it was possible. We knew that it was safe. We've been working with epidemiologists. We're working with government here in the UK, with the NHS, and with organisations around the world to just make sure, A, we understood what the safe guidance was, that we knew what the World Health Organization were advising people. We collated all of that information together, made it publicly available on our website for businesses, and also for consumers as well, to reassure them, which was obviously supported by the brilliant piece of work that Greenpeace did of bringing together over 125 scientists who all said reusables are safe. And then we launched contactless coffee. So it's super simple advice and steps for businesses on accepting reusable coffee cups by having a completely contactless method. So a customer can put the cup on the counter or on a tray. Business goes away, either takes it on the tray or brings the coffee, fills up the cup, customer picks it up, on they go. They're able to accept reusables, and everybody's safe and happy. So that launched in May last year, was really successful in terms of uptake. So we were able to get that out to all of the 30,000 businesses that we work with through Refill, and also launched it internationally through the Break Free from Plastic community. It's been really well received. We've had emails from Canada, from Australia, where it's been adopted. It's even now been written into a Canadian bylaw, which was pretty amazing, saying that businesses, could use the contactless method. It was perfectly safe. So hopefully it's made a big difference and has really helped. So the first stage was getting that out to businesses. Obviously the independents, as usual, were leading the way. They were the first to really get back on board. But we saw here in the UK that a lot of the big chains just weren't engaging. Their head offices were just saying, sorry, we're still not accepting reusables. So we also launched a petition, which had around 20,000 signatures here. And we then engaged directly with the head offices of the big chains. And we were really successful with that one. So we were able to get all of the biggest coffee chains in the UK. So Pret, Starbucks, Costa, and Cafe Nero, who were the last ones to change their minds, have now changed their policy and are all accepting reusables. So massive well done, and thanks to everyone out there that signed that petition and got involved, because yeah, we've been able to successfully reverse that policy. And as a consumer in the UK, you can definitely now get out there and use your reusable coffee cup.
So if you're watching and you encounter a business that's not accepting reusables anymore because of the safety rules, you can find the resources on City2C's website. And you also have water refill guidance for the same purpose, right?
Yeah, so we've done exactly the same thing. So on our COVID and Reusables hub, we've got contactless coffee, we've got water refill guidance, so safely accepting water bottles, how to do it safely, and also around fountains as well. So there's some information about fountains, and as well, we've also included some information about takeaway packaging, so recommendations about the best way to reduce single use, and the best options for takeaway packaging as well. And yet we are very much encouraging individuals to get out there. So if you are buying a coffee and someone turns you down, definitely share them our guidance, but also let them know on social media. That's what's really helped mobilize this campaign, is getting people out there tweeting to let cafes and businesses know and that the guidance is there, and that we want to be able to accept reusables again. So definitely let them know that you'll go elsewhere where you can take your reusables and that it is safe to do so.
Wonderful. It's been a super useful resource for everyone around the world, especially in Europe. So if I summarize, you're working with businesses, challenging them to change the way they design products, they retail products, and you're also developing tools to empower the consumer to live refillable life, reusable life. So in that context, what's happening on June 16th, Jo?
So nice little run up there. So on June the 16th, we are launching our very first World Refill Day. So it is a global public awareness campaign to get the issue of single-use plastic back on the agenda and to really highlight reuse as the solution. So we are really, really excited. We're less than 2 weeks away now. And it's very much a collaborative campaign. So whilst we are creating this comms hook around reuse, it only works as a movement. We want to involve everyone and use it as an opportunity to highlight all of the innovation that's going on around the world when it comes to reuse. It's not just us, it's not just the UK. There's amazing stuff happening everywhere. So we really want to use it to get the issue back out there, make sure single-use plastic is back on the agenda after the pandemic, and also to encourage consumers to start reusing again. We know everyone's habits have changed. I know I never leave the house with a handbag now, which means I never have a water bottle, I never have my coffee cup, and for me that means I end up going thirsty, but for most people that's not the case. So it's about reinstilling those habits that we've lost and making reuse normal again. We've come a massive way before the pandemic. Carrying a reusable water bottle was definitely kind of a really embedded behavior for most people, and I think we're starting to see that slipping. So for us it's about getting that back out there again, and getting everyone reusing again.
So, and as part of this movement, Refill Day is a big peak launch point in the We Choose Reuse campaign. So you are working on empowering citizens to go back to their habits of carrying their reusable items, also on having businesses offering them that option. But you're also working within the We Choose Reuse campaign on making reusable systems available for people, for whoever is forgetting their reusable cup, their water bottle, but then really having these options. How do you see the role of businesses in this transition towards a world where it would not be necessarily on everybody to carry their what we call the zero waste weirdo pack, like all the stuff you have to live a zero waste lifestyle, and how have you been engaging with them to make sure that not only they make it possible for people to make the choice, but they also provide an actual option and service to consumers?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I think is so fundamental. We can't rely on individuals, as you said, having their reuse with the pack. And that's why the core of Refill is creating that accessibility. We want to make reuse an easier choice than single use. We want to really embed it within systems, within businesses. So as a consumer, you don't have to carry all that stuff. You don't have to be making those decisions, because they are there at the point of sale. They are embedded within businesses, within structures. So that's very much fundamental to the long-term strategy for the Refill campaign. In terms of Refill Day this year, it's getting reusables back on the menu. So longer term, we definitely want to use it as a really big driver to engage the big FMCG brands. We know that at the moment, just 1.9% of packaging on the market is reusable, which we just do not think is anywhere near good enough So this year is very much demonstrating that consumer demand, mobilizing individuals around the world to say, hey, actually, we want to be able to choose to reuse, and encouraging consumers to call out those brands and to call out those businesses. And a big follow-up part of the campaign for us will be taking all of that amazing activity, showing all of the individual actions and the consumer demand, and really then using that as leverage with the big brands to show that actually you guys need to step up, and start scaling some of these pilots. We know like lots of the big brands are saying, oh yes, we're doing reuse, we're trialing it, but it's, you know, one product, it's in a tiny scale in a city or in one location. So it's really making sure that they start investing in reuse systems, and embedding them within their products and within their brands. And then on the food to go side of things, for us, you know, that's as part of the refill campaign, is a really core focus. Last year we released a report which was looking at the top 20 food to go outlets in the UK, seeing what they were doing in terms of single-use plastic reduction, and we've put together a roadmap for them in terms of ways to reduce plastic. And that's something I think we'd really like to be able to share and to replicate with the whole movement across Europe as well.
There's a lot, as you said, pilot washing, what we call that. It's like another version of greenwashing. But in terms of real solutions that you have encountered doing this work, what's your favorite or your two favorite reuse systems? Yeah, that you've been able to experience as a consumer, or that you've heard about?
That's a really good question. For me, I'm all about the refill at home options that are appearing now. And this is nothing new. This is, you know, stuff we used to have before. I now get my milk delivered in glass bottles to my house. We're actually working with some brilliant partners now, and the next stage for the app will be making it so not just an on-the-go app, so you can find places to refill and reuse when you're out and about, but also starting to map that innovation. I'm at home, I want to have my groceries delivered to me. How can I get that in reusable containers? And we know, you know, there are organizations like Loop who are starting to roll this out around the world now. So you can actually get your groceries delivered to your house in reusable containers. You can either drop them off or get them picked up. And I think for me, that's going to really change things, because much as I love going to the zero waste shop, we all know that actually it is a massive faff. And it's not really possible if you've got kids, if you've got a job. And although it is fun, you know, I think being able to start embedding those behaviors, making it much easier and much more normalized to be able to do your groceries and get those containers refilled and delivered to you at home, is going to be a really big game changer. I'm also a massive fan of the cup schemes, deposit return schemes. So we've seen this popping up in a lot of cities around Europe, a few in the UK now. So small kind of, either if it's a closed loop event or if it's a town or a city where you can go into one coffee shop, you can use a reusable cup there. You can drop it off in another cafe or in a drop-off point. All cleaned and put back into the system. So it's not relying on the consumer to carry their coffee cup around with them. You can just get one, get it dropped off. It's all taken care of, and those cups are obviously staying within the system. So we're completely eliminating waste from single-use plastic. So they're probably my two biggies that I see as game changers.
Way to go. On the work with businesses that you've done with Refill in particular, there is a question about the campaign and how you have approached the partners. So at the same time, when you started approaching those businesses to encourage them to join the program, I know you also worked with the water companies in different cities to set up the fountains, but also improve the quality of the drinking water. How did that work? Like, did you face any challenges in engaging with both the water companies and the businesses? Was it pretty easy? Did you learn anything along the way? And then we'll go to your NGO partners that are actually implementing the programs.
Yeah, it's a really good question. So, our kind of first, some of our very first partners that supported Refill in the UK were the water companies. So they had objectives to promote clean, safe drinking water and also to reduce plastic pollution. So for them, Refill was a no-brainer. That's what we set out to do, to encourage people to drink tap water, to stop buying plastic bottled water, and to reduce plastic pollution. So working with them obviously gave us access to all of their customers, which was brilliant. But as you said, a lot of them are also investing in fountains in local areas, taking water bars to events. So that was a really great partnership, working with them over the last few years. The other kind of core partners for us, so when we started Refill, it was tackling the high street. And I think I mentioned we did some research into understanding the barriers and challenges to people refilling. We knew accessibility was the biggest blocker, but it was specifically in towns and city centres. So basically the high street. That's where we started. We knew, okay, when you're in town doing your shopping, there's literally nowhere to fill up. So we started with looking at high street chains. So the food to go outlets, places like Costa and Starbucks. And it was actually Costa Coffee was the first big chain that came on in the UK. So we signed them up, and the others very quickly followed. So that was our model, using the local schemes to sign up the individual independent businesses, and then at HQ us taking on the big chains. So we really focused on them for the first couple of years, and now we've got, I think, about 15 out of the top 20 that we're working with, initially just starting with getting drinking water. To be honest, we didn't really have any barriers or challenges. They were very receptive to what we were trying to do. For them, it's an easy win. You give someone free drinking water, you get nice green tick for your sustainability credentials. And also we've done some research, and we know that for every customer that comes in to fill up their water bottle, on average, they'll end up spending about £2.50 to £5 within the store. So you've got the benefit of driving footfall and also getting customers to spend money when they're there. So there are benefits to businesses for being part of something like this as well.
Yeah, because some of them sell water, so they could tell you that they're actually going to make less profit if they start refilling people's water.
Well, yeah, that is another challenge, and that is our biggest ask to businesses. You know, what can they do next? Please stop selling plastic bottled water would be number one. Also stopping them doing offers on bottled water. So these are two of the first recommendations that we make in our food to go report as well. We have had some success. Again, a lot of the independents are really on board with these kind of things, and it's balancing the money they make from the bottled water sales with increased footfall and money that can be made from someone that might not have come in, but who has then come in and spent money in store on something else. So yeah, after the high street, that's where we started. We then focused on the travel sector. So we knew another barrier, and kind of one of the other big problem areas was if you were traveling, you were getting a train, if you were getting a bus, there was nowhere to stop. Also airports. So we worked with transport hubs, Network Rail in the UK, which is one of the UK's biggest rail providers. We worked with them to install fountains. So now every single Network Rail station in the UK, of which I think there are about 30 to 40, including all of the central stations in London, now have drinking water fountains. And I remember traveling to work a few years ago, you would always sneak up there was one pub in the station, and for years, commuting for work, I would sneak up into this pub and fill up my water bottle in the toilet because there was literally nowhere to fill it up. So, having these fountains in place has been an absolute game changer. And we know from them, within about 6 months of them installing the fountains, they've been used about 3 million times. So that's 3 million plastic water bottles that saved through that one partnership alone.
That's
We
where we
also,
stop and play the upload jingle.
yeah, we always like to hear that one.
Yeah.
The other kind of sector we started looking into was airports. Again, similar problem. You go through security, they take your water bottle off you. As soon as you get in, there's a shop with bottled water offers, and you're immediately forced to buy 2 bottles of water that you don't want, which you then have to dump in the bin before you get on your flight. So we worked with Heathrow initially to install I think it was just over 100 fountains across the airport. So as you go through security, you can empty out your bottle, and then they immediately have signage saying, fill up your water bottle here, and they have the fountains. And it even went as far for refill day last year. They actually put little shelf wobblers in WH Smith's, which is like #1 for making you buy lots of bottled water.
Yes.
Don't need to buy bottled water, fill up at the fountain.
Wow.
Amazing. That was a real achievement, and we've done similar with other smaller airports around the UK as well. So really starting to tick off the high street and travel, because we know they're kind of the biggest problem areas for people when accessing drinking water.
And have you been also looking into public institutions like schools or public buildings?
Yeah, so the way the refill campaign works, it has to be a publicly available tap. So schools, obviously, for someone from the public wouldn't be able to pop in and fill up, but we've done a lot of engagement work with schools. We regularly get our local schemes to do assemblies. We're actually developing a new schools resources program around water efficiency and reducing single-use plastic for schools as well. And on public buildings, yeah, we now work with quite a lot of government organisations and councils who, for them, the refill campaign is a no-brainer. It helps them reduce waste, save money from having to process the waste, but also encourages people to access free drinking water within their local areas. So a lot of councils are actually on board, and some of the first buildings and businesses they sign up are these public buildings. So we work with the Mayor of London, who's behind the Refill London scheme, and also the Welsh Government, who back Refill in Wales. And they're actually, excuse me, on track to be the first refill nation. So Wales have been really flying the flag for quite some time now.
Wow, you guys are on a roll. It's so exciting to hear that, because I met your founder probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was the beginning of all these great ideas. And it's always nice to see how from a great idea something was born, which brings me to our We Choose Reuse campaign, which was an idea we had one day in a cafe, and that became reality. So City2C is contributing massively to that, with in particular the organization of Refill Day. And before we end our chat today, can you say again to anyone who's watching what they can do on Refill Day to join the We Choose Reuse movement, the Refill revolution?
Yes. So if you are an organisation out there listening, we want you to get involved. As I said, this is a collaborative campaign. It's an opportunity to tell the story of what you are doing to help champion reuse. You can visit the World Refill Day website. There's a digital toolkit there with all of our assets. There's facts and stats and messaging. And there are also templates on there, so you can share your story and be a refill hero, and we will amplify that as part of the campaign. We also want everybody to support on social media on the day. So our goals with this are to really normalize reuse again. It's about showing everyone out there with their reusable water bottles on the day, encouraging everyone to get out there and choose to reuse again. So please do get involved on social media using the hashtag World Refill Day on the 16th of June. You can also download the app and sign up any businesses, your favorite refill stations, local fountains. We really want to do a massive push and double the number of refill stations that we have on the map across Europe. So yeah, anyone who's out there, please do get in touch, download the app and get involved on social media.
Amazing. And last but not least, you're also inviting everyone who's contributing to Refill Day to sign the We Choose Reuse commitment.
Of course, that was my next point.
I mean, how can we forget? This is the number one ask to really show anyone who has the power to implement this transition to reuse. So governments, businesses, cities, that citizens are ready. They're already engaging in refilling and they're bringing their bottles and everything. But we also really want the system to change. So check out the Refill Day website, sign the We Choose Reuse commitment, engage on social media. And if you want to start a refill scheme in your city, you can also get in touch with the team. Because I mean, it's not fair that it's happening mostly in the UK. We also want it to be available for everybody, everywhere. So these are many ways you can engage if you're watching right now. Do you have any final word of wisdom for us before we end our lovely chat today?
No, I think we pretty much covered it all. Just to say, to anyone who's listening, massive well done and thanks to all of your hard work, because all we're doing as a refill campaign is mapping what's going out there. We're creating that accessibility, and none of that would be possible without all of the businesses actually accepting reusables, investing in reuse systems, and all the NGOs and organizations who are out there doing all of the hard work on the ground. So yeah, massive well done to everyone in the movement, and let's use June the 16th to let all of the big businesses and governments and brands know that it is time for change, and yeah, we want to be able to choose to reuse.
I fully subscribe to that. Thanks you for the great work of CDDC. It's always a pleasure to see your campaigns coming out, very much inspiring for everybody in the movement. And this was our We Choose Reuse webinar for today. We're going to have more coming up. Sign the commitment, join Refill Day, explore all the wonderful resources on both websites. And Jo, thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure to chat with you.
Always lovely to chat, Delphine, and yeah, looking forward to getting everyone involved this week.
Bye, everybody.